Hi everyone, I'm April and you're watching the Tangled Cat Speaks. This is episode number 27. Now I'm going to start off this episode with a silly story. Very much an April Davis moment. So yesterday I was knitting and I've told you before that I have to use readers. Actually it was the day before. But I've told you that I have to use readers now. Not very strong readers, but I definitely can tell that I need something because things are a little bit blurry up close. So I've been using readers, and yes, the other day when I was knitting, kept thinking, gosh, these are filthy, and I held them up to the light and I'm like, God, they just need to be, everything is blurry. I just don't understand. I need to clean these. So I got up, went and got my little cleaning cloth, and right as I started, my thumb went right through. My thumb went right through because there's no lens there. I had been knitting with these for a good 30 minutes, 45 minutes, something like that, the whole time. And I kept thinking, God, these are so blurry. I don't even know what it was that made me knit that long before I decided there was a problem, but I knew there was. I don't know what I was thinking. I have no idea. So I was sitting there with half a pair of glasses. That is my dumb moment. I don't even know. I even got up thinking that maybe it fell out, because I wasn't going to sit there and admit that this was a dumb moment. I thought maybe it fell out when I took them off to go get the cloth. I dug around in the cushions of my couch, in my chair, underneath. I moved my cat. I looked everywhere where I had been sitting. Could not find this lens. I still don't know where this is. So I had to come to the conclusion that I was knitting for at least 30 minutes with only one good lens. Sorry. Yeah, I just thought you might want to know that, because we all make mistakes and it's better to laugh at ourselves than to feel uptight about it. I laugh at myself a lot. I make jokes about myself a lot, and I don't know, I find myself very entertaining because I'm a dork and I embrace this. So I'm going to start off with a few finished objects from quite a while back because I don't have any finished objects right now. So the first thing that I'm going to talk about is a knit scarf that I had done with some ribbon yarn. This is Premier Yarn's City Life ribbon yarn. It's so fun. And the colorway is called City Rain. These happen to be my son's high school colors. So I had this pulled out because pretty soon, I'm trying to get all my stuff ready for when I have to start going to football games and stuff like that. And I gotta represent. So I was getting this out, so I thought I'd show that to you. I didn't use a pattern. It was very simple. I simply knit I knit the whole skein of yarn. It was one skein, 140 yards. And I did that on a US 13 needle. I think that's a 9mm. And I just continued knitting one long narrow scarf. I think this is only 15 stitches wide. It's only 15 stitches wide. But I just kept going and going and going until I almost ran out of yarn. I left just enough so that I can get the two ends and do a 3-needle bind off to connect. I didn't twist it. It's not like a Mobius style. It's just a simple straight loop. And I love it. Yay, gotta represent my son's high school team. Woo! So that's that one. The other finished object I'm going to talk about is a shawl that I had made using yarn that I had dyed. It was 3 skeins of Cascade Superwash Sport, and it was bare when I got it. I dyed it with Kool-Aid, and I used super high concentrations of orange, cherry, and grape. And what I had done was I got the skein and kind of put a little bit in this cup of concentrated color, a little bit of the skein in this cup and a little skein in this cup, and then I kind of just kept manipulating them so I didn't have any white spots. It was very tedious to do. It was fun, but it was kind of tedious, and I wasn't expecting a whole lot because, you know, I had heard, this was my first time ever dyeing with Kool-Aid, and I had heard, you know, basically you get pastels out of Kool-Aid. So I was like, I'm gonna try. And I did super high concentrations, and these are the colors that I ended up with. Absolutely not pastel. I mean, the grape was so concentrated that it reads black. And this isn't just the camera or the lighting in this room. This is super, super dark grape Kool-Aid that reads black, and in some places gray. Absolutely stunning. You can see where the cherry yarn and the orange kind of intermingle. Oh, I love it. I love it. Actually, I think I need to reblock this. It's been a few years, and I need to wash it and reblock it because it's not quite as open and lacy as it originally was. I don't know how often other people wash and reblock their shawls. I mean, it's not something that I wear constantly, so I wear them and I put them away. It's not like socks. I wash socks all the time, but my shawls I don't wash quite as often. I don't know if that's how other people do it, but I know it's been since I made this that it was only blocked the first time. So I think I probably should do like one big shawl washing, blocking, knitting week and just go through some of my really old pieces and wash them and reblock them, make them look like new again. But that was that, and that was Kool-Aid. I had so much fun knitting with that. I'm sorry, dyeing with that. I did have fun knitting, but I had so much fun dyeing with the Kool-Aid. And I think I showed you this the last time, which was one skein of that same Cascades Superwash Sport that I did with watermelon, which is the lightest pink. There's the cherry, which is the red there, and then that green was super concentrated lime. And I loved this. This I had made at the time into they called it a shawl, but it really was too small to be even a shawlette, and the wingspan, it was a triangle. The wingspan wasn't even really long enough to wear like a kerchief. And so I never wore it. So I decided the other day to go ahead and frog that and use these for fingerless mitts. I may have to supplement with another sport weight, maybe in just the bare for the cuffs and the thumbs of a fingerless mitt. But because I don't think that this one thing is going to make a full pair on its own. But I don't know if I want to dye another skein in a complementary or contrasting color, if I just want to contrast with the bare yarn. That's probably what I'll end up doing, but I haven't really decided. But I did frog that because I want to show this yarn off, and I never wore that shawlette because it just wasn't the right size for me. So speaking of dyeing yarn, I went crazy, and I blame my best friend. I was minding my own business, you know, because that's what I do. I keep to myself. And my best friend said, hey, come over here, look at this. And she shows me that Gnome Acres, www.gnomeacres.com, is unfortunately going on a hiatus, is what they called it. I don't know if that means they're going out of business or it's just going to be for temporary, but it said a permanent hiatus. So I'm not sure. To me, hiatus means temporary, but she said permanent before this. I don't know. But anyway, so they're selling off a lot of their stuff, a lot of bare yarn, and I went crazy. Oh my goodness, I went crazy. So be prepared. I ended up getting 4 10 skein bags of yarn. So I ended up with 40 skeins. And what I got was, this is the DK weight superwash merino. So there's 10 skeins that came in this one, all bare. and I got the same in this 100% superwash merino in worsted, and each of these are 150 yards per skein. That's a lot of yarn. Then I got, sorry, I have everything on the floor next to me. One more. Then I got, this was a 75-25 superwash and nylon fingering, 10 of those, and these were 300 yards each. And then I got 10 of the, oh, this is nice stuff here. This is 60% superwash merino, 20% superfine alpaca, and 20% nylon. I've never dyed alpaca before. So I bought 10 skeins of those, and this is 435 yards a skein. Because I'm not kidding, I went crazy. It's my best friend's fault. She went crazy too. We were just like, what? Because we've been wanting to have another dye party together. Those two that I showed you, the pink and the orange, we dyed together. She had come over and we hung out all afternoon and just dyed with Kool-Aid all morning. Just, you know, had a nice BFF kind of day. So we've been wanting to kind of do that again. So she ordered a whole bunch and I ordered a whole bunch. So it was fun. So I don't know if Gnome Acres still has any yarns left. I know that they're selling some of their already colored skeins, and you know they were selling their notions and accessories and stuff like that, as well as the bear yarn. I don't know how much of any of it they have left, if any. But if they do, go check it out. I mean, you can get a good price, you know. And my kids, when they saw these come in, they're like, "Oh my God, you said you weren't gonna buy any more yarn this year, and look at you." And I'm like, don't judge me, you don't understand. I needed to dye something. Oh, hold on, you're gonna hear the alarm. My son's coming in the door. Hi, honey. So I did that. I bought all of that, and and as soon as I got it, I could not help myself. I had previously bought 2 packages of the Easter dye tablets, the deluxe kit that had 9 tablets within each box. So I went crazy. I went and ran, pulled out my vinegar, pulled out my pots, pulled out some skeins, got my dye tablets, just ran to the kitchen and immediately started dyeing. So I knew that I wanted to dye 3 identical, well, as identical as hand dyeing can get. So I dyed them exactly at the same time because I wanted to make a large shawl using my own dyed yarn. So this is what I came up with. So it's 3 skeins of this, and I'm going to go ahead and open this up. What I had done was in my dye pot, I got the 3 red colors. So I got the pink, the red, and the purple. Put those in the dye pot with some vinegar, and I dip dyed the end of the skein, just this much, into that. Now I was expecting it to be a more vibrant, bright color, and it looks more like a vintage rose color, and I'm thinking that has to do with the alpaca content in here, because it was a very concentrated dye bath, but it just came up more muted and not quite pastel. It looks like a vintage dusty kind of rose to me, and I love it. And it's tonal, it's not a solid, and I think that has to do is because I held all 3 skeins at one time and did it together, and boy, let me tell you, that was so heavy when they started getting really wet. But I did all 3 at the same time, and then the other, once that was fully exhausted in the dye pot, I threw in 1 tablet of the blue into the pot, and I didn't quite rotate it 180. I kind of like, you know, there's 180 and then just a little bit off from there, and I dip dyed this end into just that blue, and it ended up a really pretty sky blue. So being that I was so excited and I just wanted to experiment, what I did after that was I got the exhausted dye bath, which still had a lot of vinegar in it, poured it into a casserole, a glass casserole dish, and I had laid all 3 skeins, kind of just any which way, into the casserole, just all side by side, kind of overlapping, just willy-nilly. And I got the remaining 6 egg dyeing pellets, and I crushed them up with using the back of a spoon in a bowl, crushed them up into a coarse powder and sprinkled them all over. And I'm going to put in a video of this at the end of the show, because I kind of impromptu videoed. I wasn't set up to do the video, but I made it work, I guess. But it's very amateurish, choppy, but I will show a short video clip of what I did. And this is what ended up happening. This splotchy, speckly bloom of colors, and I love it so much. It just looks like a garden, like a really pretty springtime blooming garden, and I am super pleased with it. Even though the pink didn't end up the bright raspberry that I was expecting, I still love it because I think that pink is just amazing. I'm thinking it was the alpaca content that made it not so vibrant. I'm okay with it now, I know. Super happy. So I finished that. Well, in the casserole dish, when I lifted these out to wash, there was some, after because I picked it up, I didn't move the skeins while they were in the pot. In the casserole dish, I kind of just let them sit and let them do what they were going to do for maybe 5-6 minutes, and then I took them out to wash. When I lifted it out, a lot of runoff happened because I didn't let it fully exhaust. It was all the colors melded together in that residual dye bath. So what I did was I got 2 of those 150-yard skeins of worsted, and I soaked them real quick in just plain tap water, still twisted up in the skein. I didn't unwind those. So I got them wet, and then I just laid them into the casserole dish, and the water barely covered the bottom half of the skeins. So I left those in there for a few minutes, and then I flipped it over so that the other side could get some access to the color. And what I ended up with, and this is actually both skeins twisted up together right now. Let's see, I'm going to unwind them. So I ended up with this splotchy sage green color. I love it, and because it was twisted in the skeins as I dyed it, it's very splotchy, very random, but I couldn't believe the color that I got. Like this very pretty sagey green, almost like celery kind of, I don't know. So this is the 2 skeins, so it's a total of 300 yards of a worsted weight. So I'm thinking maybe a big fluffy cowl. This was very surprising to me. It came out just so pretty, and you know how I feel about green. I'm in love. So then, because I was just on a kick, I had to open up the second box of dye pellets, and I got out the 2, because it has, I don't know what the actual names are, but it has purple, red, pink, orange, yellow, like a Kelly green, and then it had like a aqua, like a teal green, and then it had more of like a indigo aqua blue, like it's got some green in it, like there are 2 shades of teal or aqua, I guess you could say. One is more on the green end, one is more on the blue end, and then the last color is blue. So you've got 9 different colors. Well, I pulled out the 2 aquas out of that second box, put those in my dye pot, and I did about 3/4 of the skein in a dip dye. This is the 75% merino, 25% nylon, and I did it just very quick. So It's not even, it's very tonal. And then on the other end that I had left bare, I laid it out. I laid the skein out, and it had been pre-soaked in tap water. But I laid it out, and I got the dry Easter egg tablet, and I just started rubbing on it like it was a tiny piece of chalk all over the skein, and I used orange and yellow. And just over that last little bit. And I did overlap it a little bit into the aqua or the teal, I guess. I don't know. I am not good at color names, but I love it. I love it so much. And it makes me think of years ago, I had gone into a pet shop that sold exotic birds. And I saw this bird. It was a sun conure. I named him Mango. I didn't buy him because he was almost $400, but I fell in love with him because I went up to the little cage and he started performing for me. Like I would I tapped on the window a little bit, and he went up to the inner kind of cage, and he started like not dancing, but like doing acrobatics on the inner cage, and he was like upside down, he was waving his wings, he was tilting his head, and when I would walk away, he would kind of follow me to the other side of the cage, and he would try to perform for me. Super cute. I loved him, and his colors made me think of a mango. So this is what it makes me think of, is that cute little sun conure in the pet shop that I named Mango. So this is my mango yarn. Oh, I wish I had the money to get him. He was just adorable, but that was a little too pricey for me. And also at the time I had a cat. I think I showed you in a couple of episodes previous. His name was Legolas. He was a menace, and he could climb onto anything, and no matter where I ended up putting that poor bird, he would have been traumatized in some form or fashion. So I didn't end up buying him. But now I got yarn. I think I want to make socks. I'm going to make mango socks. That's only a 300 yard skein, so that's perfect. I never use the full skein when I make socks for myself. So that's going to be plenty of yarn. So super excited about that. That was my adventures this week in dyeing and shopping. So I got all of those there for you to see. Now, speaking of these bare yarns, I had mentioned last week that I wanted to celebrate the fact that I have been doing these podcasts for over 6 months now. So I wanted to do a giveaway. So what I'm doing, I'm going to say it again, is if you go back to episode number 26 and leave a comment about how you found me and what you enjoy about the show, or just leave a comment in general, your one comment will be an entry into a giveaway. And at the time last week when I did this, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do as the prize. So what I've decided is to allow you to choose from any one of these bags a skein of yarn. So it could be the one skein of the one with the alpaca content. This is 435 yards. So you would get a bare skein of that, or of the 100. Actually, let's do it so it'll be a little more even. We'll do 2 skeins of either the DK or the worsted, which would give you 300 yards, or also 1 skein of the 300 75-25 fingering. So you'll get at least 300 yards of bare yarn. You get to pick your choice between DK, fingering, or worsted. It's up to you. You get to pick which one if you are chosen as the giveaway winner. So that's what it's going to be. So again, go to episode number 26 and leave me a comment, and you will be entered automatically into a giveaway. So there's that. Let's actually get into what I've been knitting. So actually the knitting that I've been working on, I did mention last week that July was going to be finishing up and working strictly on socks. So I don't have any shawls for you. I finished a sock. The last time I showed you, I think it was about here. So I finished that. These are the Block Party Socks by Catherine C. This is using 3 Irish Girls Kel Sport in the Marine colorway, 3 Irish Girls Beckon fingering in the Trinity colorway. I love it. And I only chose to do the mosaic pattern along the leg and just do plain blue along the foot. And I did do an Eye of Partridge heel, which I love doing with variegated yarns because it kind of ends up looking like a Fair Isle. Love it. And you can see in the toe what the yarn knits up as stockinette. Very cool. So finished one, and I actually got some really good progress done on the second sock. So I'm ready now to start the heel flap. So I'm about to switch over to the smaller needles. What I did was the entire sock, the main part of the sock here, it was all done on 2.75 because of the worsted and heavy fingering weights. The Eye of Partridge heel flap I did on 2.5, so I went down a size just for the heel flap, just to give it a little bit of extra strength. So I'm about to do that on the second sock, and I should be zipping right along and get those done real soon. I plan on giving these to a friend. I'm not going to say who, but I am going to be sending these off to someone, and it's a little weird and nerve-wracking actually to be making socks for someone who I don't get to actually measure their foot and repeatedly try on the sock for them to make sure that I'm getting the right fit. But I did have her, she knew I was going to make her socks, and God, I think it's been like 6-7 months that I said I was going to do this. So I did ask her measurement of her foot. I asked her to do that for me and send me all the numbers, but it's been months, so she probably thought I gave up on trying to make her some socks sometime. So I'm gonna get those done, and I'm gonna send them out to her without letting her know, and then she'll get a happy little surprise in her mailbox. Yay! But it is a little bit weird not being able to try them on her as I go to make sure. So I really hope they fit. I hope she loves them. Okay. Moving on. The other pair of socks that I'm working on are these are called the Summer Breeze socks by Gabby Boland, and they are part of a collection that I've had in my library on Ravelry for quite a few years, and it was called the Knitting Zone Soul Solution, I believe, collection. It's now, when I search for it on Ravelry, it says that it's archived. I don't know what that means. I can't remember if I paid for this collection or not. It's got dozens of sock patterns in there, and it's various weights, various styles, toe up, top down, different heel applications, just a whole huge collection of dozens of patterns. And I hadn't knit any of them all this time, so I finally decided that I wanted to take a look. So I chose the Summer Breeze socks by Gabby Boland, and I'm using the Pickle Juice Knit Pick Stroll yarn that I over dyed with green food coloring, and then I'm using the October House Fiber Arts Sojourn sock. This is part of a mini skein set that they called this particular mini skein lavender, but it very much reads as a purpley gray. I wouldn't myself have called this lavender, but it is what it is, and it's gorgeous. They look great together. And this is a very interesting sock pattern as far as toe up goes. It's not a toe up that I'm used to. Very different. Basically, it starts out as a rectangle, and you join in the round and continue on with your increases till you get to the size you want and get to the foot portion. Now the entire rest, mostly the sock pattern is how to do the toe and how they wanted the size of the striping when you switch to your second color. And I think there's some more striping up at the cuff. The main body of the sock is supposed to be all stockinette. But because this particular pattern uses a short row heel, and short row heels don't particularly fit me as well, I chose to go up stitch count so that I have a bigger circumference to work with, especially around the ankle area opposite where the heel would be. Now, because I am going up in stitch count, and I could, I guess, have gone all the way in my normal 64 and then just increased a little bit just before I was supposed to start the short row, but I decided I wanted to do ribbing. So I did am doing a 4x4 rib. So it's not going to scrunch in too much, but just enough, I think, to hug my foot and fit more snugly, because I have used a higher stitch count. And I did the ribbing all the way around the entire foot. So even the sole of my foot is going to have the ribbing. And it's not going to bother my foot at all. I think it's going to be fine. And this yarn is so soft, and I'm just loving the colors, the tonal effect that I got from the over dyed yarn. I'm loving it. I don't know if the camera will pick up the tonal aspect on there. You can kind of see little shadows there, some light and dark spots. But I'm enjoying making this, and I can't wait to get them done. And this, I only had the one skein of this, 50 grams, 231 yards. And then this mini skein was 20 grams, 90 yards. So I've got just over 300 yards, and it'll be plenty for me to get a pair of socks for myself. They won't be very long, but I never make my socks really long because I have kind of thick calves. So I don't make them long, because I don't usually make them long. I think I have made a couple pairs of really long knee-high socks, but I don't like doing that because it just takes forever, because I got to increase to such a big stitch count to get around my calves. So I don't normally do it. I usually do maybe a 4 or 5 inch from the top of the heel throughout the leg, including the cuff. It's only about 4, maybe 5 inches. So I'm not as long as I don't make them as long as a lot of people. So I never use an entire 400 plus skein of yarn. So I probably will even have a few leftovers of these, maybe some real small balls, but I think I'll have enough to put in my Cozy Memories blanket, actually. So those are my socks. I did also mention that I was working on my Nemesis socks, the ones that are red and the black, gray, white, and red variegated. I didn't even bother to bring those in here because I didn't work on those at all. I'm pretty sure that I'll be able to get all 3 pairs of socks done this month. Then I want to start some shawls. I want to start actually, no, I'm going to take that back, because there are a couple of shawls that I want to finish in August, and then September I want to start the pullover. It's called That 70s Tee, the one that I had told you I won quite a while back from the Mean Girls Knit. I want to get started on that in September so that I have it ready by the time it starts to get chilly here. And I'm thinking I also, at that point, would love to start knitting the shawl that I want with the 3 yarns that I dyed all at the same time. But we'll see. Definitely the That 70s Tee is coming up in September. So that's really all I've got for you right now. As far as books that I'm reading, I'm still reading The Silence by Sarah Rain, but I've only gotten a few pages in. I really haven't had the chance to sit down too much and read this week. And I did get, oh, it's right here, look. I did get from the library the Agatha Christie book Dead Man's Folly that we're doing in the Delicious Death group. So that came in after the mishap with my readers. It's a good thing that the library only had the large print the large print version, because I'm gonna need it. So anyway, that's all I've got for you right now, and I'm gonna add in the clip of the short video of me dyeing that yarn, and I will see you all next week. I hope that your week is fabulous, that you enjoy a wonderful time with your friends and family, and just do something that you love. Make yourself happy. You deserve it. And thank you for stopping by. So here I've got 3 skeins of bare yarn soaking in just plain tap water to prepare them for the dye bath. I will be using Paws Deluxe Easter dye tablets, as well as some vinegar. These are the tablets that are inside the Easter dye tablet package. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to separate these into the colors that I'd like to use for my yarn. What I've done here is separate into the colors that I would like to use. So they're tablets, and sometimes they're a little bit hard to tell which color is which in this tablet form. So what I've done is gotten a damp paper towel, and I basically drew on there to find out what color it is. This is yellow. So what I've done is separated into yellow, orange, green. This is a teal color. This is also a teal, but a little bit more on the blue side. This is blue. And over here I've got red, pink, and purple. These are the 3 that I'm going to put in my dye bath. And I'm going to choose one of these also for the other end of my skein. But I'm not sure yet what I'm going to do. So I put in a good amount of vinegar in the pan with tap water. It is just above a boil. It looks like it's really boiling because of the effervescence of the dye tablets, but that'll go away in a second. So again, I've got red, pink, and purple in the dye bath. So what I plan on doing, let's see if I can get a good angle. I've got my 3 skeins tied up, and I have them all 3 together hanging over my arm. Now what I'm going to do is only dye this bottom section here in a solid or semi-solid, however it turns out, color. This is the pink, red, and purple tablets that I have in the dye bath waiting for me to dip dye. I'm only going to do maybe about 1/4 of the skein. Okay, so I've got my 3 skeins together with the tongs through it, and I'm just winding it up so it's not so long, because I only plan on doing the last 1/4 of this skein. So I'm going to go ahead and dip dye. And I'm sorry the camera angle isn't that great, but I'm just going to basically dip dye in the pot. You can see there's the pink. I'm turning off the heat. I don't want to burn my yarn. This is actually just an experiment. I've never done this before. And I'm going to do this until the color is completely gone from the dye bath and is totally in the yarn. After I get it out of this pot, I'm going to let it cool for a little bit so that I can handle it with my hands better without burning myself. Okay, so what I've got now is the last remaining 5 pellets, which are orange, yellow, green, and the 2 different shades of aqua teal colors. And I'm using the back of a metal, this is a small ladle. I'm going to basically use it like a mortar and pestle and crush these into a kind of a very coarse powder so that I can sprinkle over the yarn, which I've got prepped in this. There's my tongs through the ends of my skein so I know where to grab them so they don't get too tangled. There's the pink end. I've got some white, bare, and this is the in the casserole pan, and I did dip the other end in the other blue, which came out like a baby blue here. So this section is going to have a few random speckles with the crushed up tablets that I have. So I've poured in my powder, mixture of the last 5 colors. You can see some chunks are bigger than others, and others were very, very fine. You can see I've got some speckling. I've got some probably where the finer powder was, they've mixed. And some of it is did land on the blue section, as well as over here on the pink. I'm excited. I'm gonna give this a few minutes for everything to dissolve and cool down. This was the same water that I had in the exhausted dye bath from the 2 dip dyes that I did on the ends. So there was plenty of vinegar, and so it should adhere to the yarn pretty well, and we'll see what this looks like when it's all done. Okay, so I've taken my yarn out of the dye bath and I've got it in some cool water so I can get ready to wash it. Now the casserole pan that I had all of the color in, when I lifted up the 3 skeins out of it, ended up a very bright green. So I've soaked 100 yard hanks of worsted weight yarn, and I soaked them, twisted up in the skein, and I soaked them in tap water, and then I just laid them down into the casserole pan to let them sit while I rinse the other yarns. And we'll see how much color, if any, that they soak up on their own. So I should end up with some sort of tonal.